Hi, this is BK Black Krishna from manforwars.com, where I'm promoting polite patriotism to help nice ladies and gents teach kids to be, look, talk, and feel great, and locally discuss and share great online info offline as better people making better places to live worldwide. So check out manforwars.com for more on that. But this video is titled Analyzing How Mainstream Trump Derangement Syndrome is Sold. Analyzing how mainstream Trump derangement syndrome is sold. Now, we've all heard about Trump derangement syndrome, where many people out there can't look honestly at what Trump is doing, for better or worse, but instead have kind of a visceral reaction. Orange man bad. Oh, just his name. Oh, I'm such a mess. Oh. And that's part of the great globalist bitch out, right? The globalist super rich people that are trying to use international institutions to control the world and weaken national sovereignty and pride and character, they're being fought against by nationalists in different countries worldwide. And Trump is a nationalist. In fact, he just gave one of the best speeches in history, based on my understanding of speeches in history, at the United Nations General Assembly just this month, or just last month, September of 2019. We're in about 38 minutes or so. It's on my BitChute channel, YouTube channel. You can hear him talk about how you got to be patriots. You can't be globalists. You got to love your country if you want peace, if you want prosperity. Every nation should do it. Every country should do it. We should reject globalists and the people that are evil and that want to run the whole world. And he goes, bit by bit through all this sort of thing. And it's an amazing speech. And so you would think for people out there that they would be like, well, he's the president of the U.S. We should at least understand what he's up to. And yet it's really, really hard, because the great globalist bitch out is making all of us act like a bitch or a bitch's bitch. And if you're a bitch or a bitch's bitch, then you're going to make more bitches who make more bitches who make more bitches who make more bitches. That's the idea. Instead of complain, or instead of explain, you complain, right? And on social media and so on, talk about what a mess you are, or what a mess you are about what a mess things are. That's sort of fashionable these days. And typically, in healthy cultures, men definitely make sure you don't bitch out. You don't let your boys, girls, or kids bitch out. And that's about it. So you don't just bitch about stuff. Boys start bitching, you stop them. Girls start bitching about this, you stop her, right? Kids start bitching, you stop them, right? Even, with other guys, I've done it myself. Oh, I miss being at university. Used to go to pub night, first year out of university. Roommate was like, stop being a bitch. I was like, okay, what is it? He goes, look, you can't go back. You're young, you're single, you got some money, shut up. Go, hang with some friends, go chase some girls, stop being a bitch. I was like, you're right, done. No more bitching about not being in university anymore the year after I was out and missing Thursday night pub nights and seeing all my friends. No problem. Girlfriends bitching, girls bitching about this, about that. Hey, no need to feel that bad about this. Your friend's stupid. She's single. She's jealous. She's just messing with you. Don't worry about it. Don't say that to her. You can still be friends, but don't be all screwed up. I guess you're probably right. Good. Commercial's over. Let's go back to watching TV. Done. Right? Kids bitching, I have a little nephew, kid playing with or whatever, fakes an ow, hee, I'm just being mischievous, right? I pinch him. Ow, what the hell was that? I was like, that's a good ouchie. That's a proper ouchie, right? That other one wasn't an ouchie. You don't want to be saying ouchie over everything. You don't want to be a little bit, well, I didn't say that to him, but basically you don't want to be a little bitch for the rest of your life, right? So if it's not a real ouchie, you don't say ouch. I gave you a real ouchie so that you know the difference, right? And so, and as part of the great globalist bitch out, we're supposed to bitch till we can't stand each other, can't communicate well. And in fact, I've got lots of evidence, 3D, manforwars.com, 100% proof, HD video of how people who eventually can't stand to bitch or hear each other bitch soon act bitchy, sketchy. Oh, it is. And then they don't want to hear it, and then they don't want to look at it. They run around trying to force people to see it, just kind of bitching near people. I'm just a mess near you. I'm just a mess near you. I'm just a mess near you, right? And so with the broader understanding of the great globalist bitch out, we'll take a look at how Trump derangement syndrome is a reflection of that. where many people, people from Infowars.com and other patriot organizations have gone to protests against President Trump and have said, look, I'm here, I've got a camera, I'd just like to ask you what you don't like about him. And a lot of these people just go, oh, he's so bad, he's putting kids in cages, so bad. And they can bring up a couple little details, but it's not like they can bring up some sort of informed and empowered opinion to try and convince you of their position. Their position, convincing you of their position, isn't based on what they know and saying, nope, I got it, I'm an adult, I know what's going on, I'm cool, I can make sure you're cool, you just should understand the world this way so you can be cooler and you can help other people be cooler. It's the opposite. Their opinions are based on their feelings. Oh, I'm such a mess. He messes me up. He makes me so upset, right? Or even Hollywood and celebrity attacks on Trump. You've got director Judd Apatow from Knocked Up, This Is 40, tweeting, please stop tweeting, for the love of God, stop tweeting. Oh, it's about how much of a mess they are, right? You've got LeBron James and Kevin Durant in the back of a car for a special where they're driving around Akron, Ohio, and they're talking to each other. And Trump comes up, and you get LeBron going, gets my manties in a bunch. You get Kevin Durant going, gets my manties in a bunch. And you get LeBron going, oh yeah, gets my girls' panties in a bunch. And Kevin Durant's like, oh yeah, gets my girls and kids' manties and panties in a bunch. Ooh, it's about how messed up they are, as opposed to how much they know. Now, the alternative would be, look, here is some facts, here is, some figures, here is a little 6-point or 6-tweet, plan to sort of get us out of this mess. But they're not trying to do that. They're trying to make you a mess, or other people, or people in general a mess. That is the secret to Trump derangement syndrome. Because if they go over the details and specifics, then they'd have to go, oh, economy's doing pretty good, country's doing pretty good, people are feeling pretty good, they're proud to be American, instead of hating being American, feeling guilty, feeling ashamed. They're proud to be men and women, doesn't matter their background. We all respect each other as Americans, and from there, once we respect each other and we act like we respect each other and we talk like we respect each other, not that bitchy, sketchy, rude, sheepish, sideways shit, but we respect each other, we're all unified by being Americans, then we can talk to each other about different things, where we're from, what our background is, and so on, right? So if they go on the specifics, then you say, well, Trump's making the economy do good. He's making people feel good. That's why even with relentless media attacks for 3 years, there's still, 20,000 people show up at a stadium to hear him talk. 60, 70 million people still support him. His approval numbers go up because they can't deal with the specifics and the facts. So that's Trump derangement syndrome. And it's part of the great globalist bitch out. It's part of getting us all to act like bitches and bitches with each other. And then bitch if someone doesn't let you bitch. Now, the problem is, if you let someone bitch, you're like, well, I better not do or say anything because they'll bitch more. Then they'll just bitch more. And then you'll have to bitch back. And then once you bitch back and forth, it's hard to look at, talk to, and listen to each other or feel like it. Then you go bother other people. So that's the issue when it comes to Trump derangement syndrome in a nutshell. As I said, this video is called Analyzing How Trump Derangement Syndrome is Sold. And to do that, I'm going to look at an article from Deadspin, right? Deadspin is a sports website, and they do some really good work, and they have some talented people there. But they also have a radical left bent, and so when it comes to issues like Trump and other sort of matters of policy, they'll often default to that. So I went to Deadspin looking for some NBA junk food, looking for some, cleverly written article to analyze the NBA, which I'm a fan of, right? And Deadspin does some good stuff on the generic NBA talk. And I like NBA junk food as an escape from everything political, which is everything except for sports in many cases, right? Because movies are political, politics, culture, gender, men, women, everything's political, fashion, all these things are political. And so I like the NBA, but in looking at some NBA junk food on Deadspin, I came across this article from David Roth. in this article from Deadspin by David Roth from, I believe, September 27th, it says here, this guy truly has no idea what he's talking about. Filed to the Big Wet President. So there's Deadspin, and there's David Roth. And this guy is a talented writer, right? If he's writing about something else, I could actually appreciate his talent. But when it comes to attacking Trump, it's a different story. And this is just when Trump was at the United Nations General Assembly in New York, where he gave one of the greatest speeches in history, right? As I mentioned earlier in this video. And there is a shot of Trump at the UN, which they use. And it says here, nothing doing. So I'm going to read a bit of this, and I'm going to show you how most of what he does is creative. It's even good writing. It's not like the guy's stupid. So because you can tell he's not stupid, you might think he's not lying, right? You might think he's smart, he's trying to do the right thing, say the right thing. But in fact, I'll go into how this is carefully crafted BS. And it's an example of a lot of carefully crafted BS out there. You might be thinking, if you're a fan of Trump, you might be thinking, oh my goodness, I can't believe people don't get it. I can't believe how messed up people are. Well, this is how people are messed up. By very carefully crafted professional lying bitches in the media who make more bitches, who make more bitches, who make more bitches out of you and me. And that's what they're trying to do with articles like this. So, it says here, the article starts, it is a problem for President Donald Trump that it's often impossible to tell what the hell he's talking about, right? So this is saying you can't understand him, which is insane. It's completely insane. Why would 10,000, 20,000 people show up at different events across America, allegedly from hillbilly towns, to hear this guy talk for an hour and a half, 2 hours, even if they liked him, right? Say they liked him. Like him, got a good job, economy's going well, saving stuff, saving some money in taxes. Why would you go hear the guy talk for an hour or two, right? Obviously, you must be able to tell what he's talking about. And Trump, in his big speeches, keeps things kind of really simple, right? You know, we had some bad deals that were not good for us, right? And I don't blame President Xi of China for signing this bad deal with us to screw us and have a $1 trillion trade deficit where they get $1 trillion worth more stuff than we do as part of our trade deal. I blame our leaders, but that's all changing. We're changing that right now. And the crowd goes, woo, right? Now he doesn't go into, well, and he will at times, right? In 1991, the World Trade Organization let China in, gave him most favored nation status, said they're a developing country, and they haven't really changed that, so they can still get the special developing country rules as opposed to second biggest economy in the world rules when it comes to trade. He doesn't get into all that stuff in a lot of detail, but he does touch on those things at his big rallies. But the first thing he starts is, it is a problem for President Donald Trump that it's often impossible to tell what the hell he's talking about. So for Deadspin readers and other mainstream media fans out there, that's what you're going to get, is you're going to get, don't even know what the hell he's talking about. When in fact, it's really easy to tell what he's talking about, right? He's been a great communicator for decades. Since the early 80s, for 40 years, he's been a great communicator. How do I know? There's evidence. He's been feted by the media, right? Feted, F-E-T-E-D, not F-E-T-I-D. Or he's been celebrated by the media, right? He was a star in the 80s, a star in the 90s, a star in the 2000s, a star in the 2010s, right? With different appearances on Oprah, the news, and so on. His own TV show, The Apprentice. Tons of celebrity friends, right? It wasn't like he's a complete idiot for the last 40 years, right? And yet, this is what this article starts with. It doesn't make any sense on its surface, but it's a good way to start to kind of frame the fact that this guy's an idiot, you don't know what the hell he's talking about, his supporters are idiots, and you're smart for believing that, which is insane. So, back to the article. It is a problem for President Donald Trump that it's often impossible to tell what the hell he's talking about. This is not one of those signature Trump defects that can readily be spun into a secret strength or as a subtle bit of advanced dealcraft that only experts and initiates can appreciate. His mind is a television that changes channels every 3 seconds, and where every channel has an infomercial on it. It cycles day and night without ever quite cohering into a signal. There is plenty of noise, though, and because Trump so utterly lacks discernment, he is constantly interrupting himself with some new bit or blurt. As a result, his average sentence is a parade of wild upstage moves, in which whatever thought he's had most recently is forever blundering into and past the one he had just begun to express. Imagine one of those halftime shows at an NBA game in which people throw down wild dunks after leaping off trampolines, except there's a new guy jumping on the trampoline every second and there are frequent mid-air collisions. Trump also only knows about 100 words, about a third of which refer to volume or size. So that's the entire first paragraph of this, right? It's the whole first paragraph of this article is all about how he feels about how crazy Trump is. Doesn't get into the specifics of what he's doing. It frames it to say this guy's completely nuts. This guy's mind is a mess, and so on. And he does it again. He's a pretty good writer. He does a good job of explaining all this, except it's BS. That's the problem with it. And he only knows 100 words, or about a third of which referred to volume or size. That's a clever joke, in the sense if Trump goes huge, it's absolutely, we're going to have a huge wall, huge, beautiful wall, whatever. He does say stuff like that, so it is kind of funny. But it's not true. This guy did not become a multi-billionaire real estate mogul, world famous for it, with properties around the world and multi-generational wealth by knowing only about 100 words. Right? So it's a blatant lie. This is how Trump derangement syndrome is created. Readers of Deadspin and other websites and newspapers and magazines and so on that reflect this kind of thinking, they're just programming their audience to say, trust me, look at how smart I am, look at how clever and creative I am, look at what of a mess I am, look what a mess this guy is, look how much of a mess I am, but how much of a mess this guy is, right? And that programs his audience to the point where if people out there just hear the word Trump, they're just like, ugh, right? And it's funny because the media can do this to us. I remember recalling years ago when I had a radio show and other efforts and so on, where I remember what they did to the word Bush, right? When George W. Bush Jr. was president, right? Now, Bush was known as a dumb guy, silly guy. You know, he also was known as a war criminal, launching wars in Iraq for no reason, killing millions of people, you know, blah, 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 right? And so the spin was that the word Bush would make you laugh, right? Bush, so silly. Hey, President Bush, Bush, so silly, right? That's another way of the media programming people to sort of think that Bush is like, a silly word. You shouldn't take him and his administration's actions seriously as a potential war criminal, right? You should think he's silly and just have a laugh, right? Or you look at somebody like Obama. Oh, Obama, right? You're supposed to feel proud. You're supposed to feel happy. You're supposed to feel like Obama, of course, Obama. But what did Obama actually do when it comes to 8 years in office, right? A lot of bad, very little good, even the stuff, well, you got health care. Well, the health care plan was crap, right? But the spin around Obama's name made you feel good, or made you feel like you were supposed to feel good, right? And so when it comes to Trump, it's the exact opposite. We say Trump, such a mess. I'm so horrified by it. What a loser. I can't believe it. He's still president. It sucks. Geez, you're pretty messed up about that. What did he do? What is he doing? What's wrong? You know how it is. They don't have a lot of details. And as I said, with the InfoWars and other people go to the protests and talk to them, they don't have a lot of details. They just sort of bitch about it, right? So this is the bitching that they're trying to affect, and this is how it is affected. So back to this article. Trump cannot ever keep his story straight because he never fully knew what it was in the first place. He knows it is about him and the things that keep happening to him, but beyond that, he never knows and will never know. He is conspiring and scheming constantly, but so ineffectually and in such a state of flummoxed confusion and utterly abject ignorance that the end game is never anything but unclear. So again, this is a whole, he hasn't even gotten to the specifics. There's a whole first paragraph, a fairly large, for an online article, first paragraph about what a mess this is, where this creative, intelligent writer can go on because he is smart about what a mess he is in creative ways, but they haven't actually gotten into what he's done. So they're not tying this to anything. It's just the idea of him is he's such a mess. That's what the point of this article and this writing style is. Right, he just doesn't know his story, can't keep his story straight. It's all about him, conspiring, scheming, but he's ineffectual. He's always flummoxed and confused, and he's ignorant. The end game is never anything but unclear. So they're saying he's scheming and he's corrupt, but he's also completely incompetent. He's a mess. They're just throwing stuff against the wall at him in this article and with this type of style, which is out there in other parts of the media. If you're wondering why a lot of liberals can't even have a discussion about this, this is why, right? This is why. This technique is why. Back to this article, Trump is always trying to get over, to win, and keep winning. But also, he doesn't know what the rules are, or what the game even is. And also someone, it's not important who, it would be unfair to point fingers, has eaten the race car, the thimble, all of the little plastic hotels, and a third of the cards in community chest. It can be difficult to prove that any of Trump's many howlingly overt acts of malfeasance are intentional, because everything he does, from the first grasping moments to his last seething ones, all through his endless expanses of executive time, feel like and fundamentally is an accident. So there you go. He says he's trying to get over, trying to win, but he doesn't know what he's doing. It's like a Monopoly game, but they stole all the pieces. His many howlingly overt acts of malfeasance are intentional, because everything he does feels like and fundamentally is an accident. So this is 2 huge paragraphs, right? Now, if you're wondering, now this is a writer for Deadspin, right? But if you're wondering why people out there suffering from Trump derangement syndrome can't get to the point when it comes to what exactly he did that they don't like, it's because of articles like this, where the point is to be messed up by it. The point is to talk about what a mess you are, about what a mess he is, and to be creative about that. It's like Trump, and then there's a competition in this area. Oh, such a mess. Oh, I feel so bad. Oh, it gets my manties in a bunch. Oh, it gets my panties in a bunch. Oh, it gets mine in a bunch more. I am more messed up about this. You would think with a bunch of adults like this guy, David Roth at Deadspin, probably makes a decent salary for being a writer at Deadspin, or those millionaire anchors on TV, you would think one of those 30, 40, 50, 60-year-olds would be like, hey, calm down. I'm a grown-up. I'm a grown-ass man. I can help you calm down. Even if you don't like something or someone or some situation, you don't have to be a complete mess about it, right? So even if we're on the left and we want to be like, oh, we got to get rid of Trump, we need more socialist policies, we need more whatever we're looking for, right? We're against, fine. Why do you have to be a mess? Why can't some of your peers chill you out and say, just calm down. Look, it's not that bad, right? Because the Trump derangement syndrome is, the point is it's that bad, right? That's what the point is. And so 2 huge paragraphs here in this article kind of reflect that. And then it gets into some substance, right? But again, 2 huge paragraphs of just smear and slander and confusion. He's a scheming, manipulative mafia boss con man, or he's a completely clueless, gibbering idiot ape. Right? All mashed up together. Right? Doesn't make any sense. This guy's a scheming con man trying to make money, grifter, sharp liar, or this guy's a monkey throwing poop at the wall, and eating McDonald's, right, and watching Fox. Right? So it's more cognitive dissonance when it comes to actually who he is and what he's up to. So back to this article. When the White House released a redacted summary of a phone call that Trump had with Ukraine's newly elected prime minister, this, oddly, was part of a confusing attempt to short-circuit a scandal that began with the White House's attempt to bury a whistleblower's complaint about Trump's attempt to cultivate foreign parties' help in his 2020 campaign. The world got to see the master in action, right? Um, so they're saying he's trying to bury a whistleblower's complaint about Trump's attempt to cultivate foreign parties' help in his 2020 campaign, when in fact, no, really, what Trump was doing was saying to Ukraine, hey, Ukraine, I heard you guys, have some corruption issues. We want to deal with those. I heard that our government might be involved in some of those corruption issues, because sometimes corruption is in your country, sometimes corruption is between countries, right? We want to look into that, right? Now, this is not specifically so Trump could say get Joe Biden, a potential opponent in the election in 2020, which is a year away, right? This is because Biden supposedly got his son great deals with a Ukrainian energy company called Burisma and $50,000 to $80,000 a month salary when Biden's son, Hunter Biden, just got kicked out of the military for cocaine abuse and had no experience in energy or not much in the private sector. So why does he deserve $50,000 to $80,000 a month? Why does he deserve $600,000 $1 million a year to work for this Ukrainian energy company, to be on the board of this Ukrainian energy company? The only reason would be because he is the vice president's son. There's no other reason for Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son, to be on the board of this energy company. And if Joe Biden got his son on the board of this energy company at a great salary to help, quote unquote, advise them, then there must be some quid pro quo. Biden must have promised the energy company something as the vice president of the U.S. under Obama, right? So that's the scandal. Also, with Joe Biden being the point man on Ukraine affairs for Obama and China, Joe Biden also got his son Hunter Biden's company, which is sort of an investment company, investment banking company. He got them, the Chinese gave him $1.5 billion, right? So the Chinese government, because the state run everything over there, the Chinese government corporation gave Joe Biden's company's son, or Joe Biden's son's company, they invested $1.5 billion in this small boutique investment firm, right? And they wouldn't do that. China wouldn't do that based on his resume. It wasn't like Hunter Biden put his resume on LinkedIn or whatever and said, hey, look at me. Look at I can obviously take $1.5 billion of your money and do great things with it. Look what I've done in the past. The only thing he did in the past was get kicked out of the army for drugs, right? So he had some personal issues. He had some problems, but he doesn't deserve, $1.5 billion investment. Why was that money likely invested by China? Because that money bought them access to Joe Biden, and Joe Biden taking it easy on China when it comes to policies, trade deals, negotiations. Maybe Biden, if he had security clearance in the President Joe Biden or Vice President Joe Biden, if he had security clearance, maybe he gave some secrets or technology to China or possibly the Ukraine in exchange for giving this money. And you have to launder it through family members. If Joe Biden himself or his wife got this kind of money or this kind of deal or this kind of favor, that would be bad. But if they give it to his son, then they can kind of hide it that way. So that's the corruption that is out there, and you can look into that more for yourself. But here's how they're trying to spin it. Bury a whistleblower's complaint about Trump's attempt to cultivate foreign parties' help in his 2020 campaign. So Biden was corrupt, and Trump uncovering that is somehow bad on Trump, as opposed to bad on Biden for the corruption, right? So back to this article. The dialogue made clear what Trump was trying to do, which was leverage the possibility of aid money to get Ukraine to a company that had put Joe Biden's son Hunter on the board, thereby creating the sort of opaque and open-ended scandal that Trump used to great effect against Hillary Clinton in 2016. So just glossed over that, right? Just creating a scandal. It was the transparency of this maneuver which in classic Trumpian fashion amounted to making a common bit of implicit political scummery extremely explicit, and then using it to the pettiest of personal ends, as much as the substance of it that seems finally to have inspired Democrats to come around on a shamefully belated impeachment inquiry, right? So again, this is the spin. This is the spin. This is the Trump derangement syndrome spin to people out there, where they say, and if Trump does something corrupt, right, with another country, and the next president goes that, say Trump does something corrupt with Colombia, right, and the next president of the U.S. is like, hey, Colombia, we're looking into corruption. We want to make sure that you guys are cool so we can do good business with you. And we want to make sure that if our elected officials benefited from corrupt dealings with your country, we find that out and we hold them accountable, right? It could be anybody to anybody, but these principles are not universal in this scenario. It's not like it's universal principles, right? Obama could have found out something that Bush or Cheney did, right? Bush or Cheney could have found out something that Clinton or his vice president Al Gore did, right? It should be a universal approach to these things, but with Trump derangement syndrome, that is not the case, and this obfuscation is part of how they affect that. It says here, other parts of the transcript were harder to understand for familiar Trumpy reasons. For instance, there's this, and this is where they're quoting. They actually show a shot of the unclassified transcript of that call Trump had with Ukraine. The president, I would like you to do us a favor, though, because our country has been through a lot, and Ukraine knows a lot about it. I would like you to find out what happened with this whole situation with Ukraine. They say CrowdStrike, ... I guess you have one of your wealthy people, ... The server, they say Ukraine has it. There are a lot of things that went on, the whole situation. I think you're surrounding yourself with some of the same people. I would like to have the Attorney General call you or your people, and I would like you to get to the bottom of it. As you saw yesterday, that whole nonsense ended with a very poor performance by a man named Robert Mueller, an incompetent performance, but they say a lot of it started with Ukraine. Whatever you can do, it's very important that you do it if that's possible, right? So this is the President of the U.S. asking the newly elected President of Ukraine to look into some corruption that is related to both the Ukraine and America and the dealings of some American politicians with Ukraine. Now, you might think that's outrageous, but that's what you're supposed to do. That's what everyone does, right? That's what a president would want to do, right? Or a prime minister or a leader of a country. That's what you would want them to do. The Democrats and the liberals are spinning this into an attack on Joe Biden. Now, first of all, Joe Biden was a very weak candidate anyway. He's constantly gaffing, as they say, the Joe Biden gaffy, screwing up, saying stupid things here and there. His memory is failing. He stutters. His eyes are getting red. His teeth are falling out. He has a history of groping women and children. Like, he's 76, right? And he's not a young 76. He's an old 76. So he's not even a good candidate or a good threat. The only thing he's got going for him is name recognition because he was Obama's vice president. So it's not like Trump would have to come up with this huge, crazy strategy to be like, oh no, it's a year out from the elections. The Democrats haven't even chosen their nominee yet. There's still 20 people running to be the nominee for the Democratic Party in the November 2020 presidential elections. I've got to do this to get Biden bad. He's such a threat to me. It's insane that they would spin this as something that Trump would do because Biden is an incredible threat to Trump's presidency, right? A year from now. It's completely insane. Now, he's a weak candidate, and there's no reason to go to extraordinary corrupt lengths to try and attack Joe Biden. No reason for Trump to do that at all. Back to this article. Based on that transcript, David Roth writes, Ukraine's president had been briefed well enough to respond to this in a correct way. Sure, definitely, and sir, you're right, Robert Mueller is very low energy, sir, but it is initially unclear what any of this even means or why Trump would be bringing it to Ukraine's new president. CrowdStrike, a California-based cybersecurity outfit that was involved with investigating Russia's 2016 hacking of the DNC, told Vice that they had no idea what it was about, right? Now, CrowdStrike is the corrupt firm that is behind a lot of the Trump-Russia collusion hoax. They were the company after the DNC, the Democratic National Committee servers, were hacked, supposedly, or maybe something was taken with a thumb drive to release tons of Hillary Clinton emails through WikiLeaks. The DNC refused to let the FBI investigate their servers, right? Now, the DNC, like anybody, like if your computer's whatever, you should let the cops, the FBI, whoever look at it, especially the Democratic National Committee. But instead, they would not let the FBI look at their servers, even though they said they'd been hacked by Russia. So the FBI was like, you've been hacked by Russia? This is our job. Let us see your servers. Let's try and track exactly how that happened, and if we can pin this on the Russians, and if we can find some Russian operatives in the U.S. that might be part of this, covert effort to mess with America. And the DNC said, actually, no, we're not going to give you our servers, our giant computer servers where all of our computer and email and internet traffic goes through. We're not going to give them to you, FBI, even though this could be a matter of national security if the Russians supposedly hacked our servers and they're trying to mess with the U.S. elections. We're not going to give them to the FBI. What are we going to do? We're going to hire this company called CrowdStrike, a cybersecurity firm, to look at our own servers, right? And they will determine what happened. It's like, what? That's insane, right? And yet that's what they're selling here as something reasonable for the Democrats to do. Right? Now, if it was on the other side, the Republicans, conservatives, whatever, and they were like, we're saying Russia hacked us and they did this and they exposed all this corruption, right? But we're not going to let the FBI see the servers. You'd have the Democrats freaking out. Oh my God, in this incredible matter of national security, and with Russia potentially threatening our democracy and our national security, you won't let the FBI look at the servers. That's crazy. How dare you? You must be corrupt. You must be hiding something. They would just simply flip it. But when they're doing it, double standard, right? So CrowdStrike told Vice magazine, another sort of liberal outfit, that they had no idea what it was about. Well, we don't know what you're talking about, right? Even though there is proof that CrowdStrike worked with Ukraine to gin up the Trump-Russia collusion hoax. No one really seems to know where Trump got the idea that CrowdStrike is owned by a Ukrainian, or that some wealthy Ukrainian has, quote, the server. It is immediately clear that Trump himself doesn't quite know what he's talking about either. It's never a good sign when he says, quote, they say, because it is his shorthand for, quote, something I erroneously recall having seen on television at some point. Well, there's been tons of news stories about this. That's where I'm getting them from. That's where I'm sure Trump's gotten them from. Plus, he's got a lot more access to a lot more this, that, and the other, right? And on and on and on. And so this article touches on things like this and then runs away from them back to ad hominems, right? It goes into Trump's ignorance as a defense. It's, again, a decent explanation. Where's the DNC server and why didn't the FBI take possession of it? Deep state? There's a tweet from Trump talking about exactly what I said. Why didn't the FBI look at it? Why didn't the DNC let the FBI look at it? The Federal Bureau of Investigations responsible for domestic security in the U.S. should be looking into a potential Russian hack of a political party's campaign servers, right? It's reasonable. But it says here, Trump's ignorance isn't a defense, but it is, again, a decent explanation because he is constitutionally incapable of being less ignorant, because his mind is gone, because he won't read or listen and can't effectively digest even the smoothest juice gruel that his television gives him. He winds up thinking things that literally no one else thinks. And because Trump is constitutionally incapable of changing his mind on any topic, he gets stuck on stuff like this and then repeats it and repeats it and repeats it. The job of the cable channel he likes is to tell him is right. So quite literally, here's his stuff and more. He doesn't express himself well enough to convince anyone else of whatever it is he believes. It is seldom clear that what he's even trying to argue beyond that everyone is being mean to him for no reason. He's actually someone else did what he did, but he's already unconvinced himself of it, which means that he will never be unconvinced, and on and on and on. So this is all that blather they use to brush over some of the details. They touched on a couple of details, but if you're somebody who's a fan of this and somebody suffering from Trump derangement syndrome, this is how it happens, right? The author touched on a couple of details, material facts, when it comes to this situation, right? And then just blah, 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 blah. He's such a moron. He's such a moron. He's such an idiot. He's such an imbecile. That's what is repeated over and over again. And there's a couple of hyperlinks here, right? So there are some hyperlinks, right? But it's just hyperlinks to more of the same stuff. There's only a couple of hyperlinks here. There's a couple of hyperlinks throughout this article. The more worrying part of all this is that there's fundamentally nothing to know about most of what he talks about. Every rank thought chunk that clears his blowhole is either some legacy beef or bigotry or something Trump learns from his television shows which feed him attenuated suspicions, a list of ominous whatabouts that hint at some sort of outcome but stop well short of it, and a bunch of leading questions that, by design, cannot be answered. All of this is supposed to shore up a worldview and generate specific political outcomes, but mostly it aims to create a mood, a coiled and claustrophobic sense of being under siege by someone, more than it does to answer any of the questions it hints at. It doesn't really add up to anything, but it also can't. The game is to accumulate. Again, this is how he does it. And on and on and on and on and on. So this article goes on and on and on and on this way, and it ends off, right? Because it's more ad hominems here. They'll touch on a couple of things, touch on Nancy Pelosi, touch on Giuliani, touch on a couple of quotes, but the most important thing is to talk about what a mess you are, about what a mess he is, you know, how much of a scumbag he is. This is not, the hyperbole does not match the facts, right? Now, if there was going to be some facts, hyperbole, details, hyperbole, that would be one thing. But this is 95% hyperbole, 5% details, and some skewed, twisted facts. So the article ends off. This is the point, right? It says here, Donald Trump is one of the worst people his generation produced. A vain and vicious and relentless exploitive nullity. But there's something pitiable in watching him try to defend himself with the weapons he's been given by the culture that created him. He opens his mouth to answer for what he's done and finds that these silly, sordid questions are all he has. So they're saying Trump's crazy, he's a mess, blah, 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 blah. That is the end of the article. And that is how Trump derangement syndrome is sold, right? Mainstream Trump derangement syndrome. So when you get people out there that are looking at Breitbart News or InfoWars or Daily Caller or the Gateway Pundit or a bunch of other largely pro-Trump but also fairly honest, websites, and or listen to Fox News, has some good and bad people on it, good people like Tucker Carlson, Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity to a large degree, and good guests and so on, Lou Dobbs. There's also some people that aren't as good at Fox, but the point is that when one group is getting, well, this detail, this specific, this thing, which is what you'll get from, a lot of the better mainstream and independent conservative news pundits, you're getting a completely different language than the Trump derangement syndrome language, where you can't talk to each other, right? It's like if 26 letters of the alphabet, and they've only been given like 6, but they can freak out with those 6. Or if 50,000 words in the English language, and they know like 5,000 words, right? You're dealing with a different language around the same issue, right? It's like looking at the sun, right? And you'd be like, oh, the sun, it's a beautiful sunny day, right? You could train someone to be like, horrible screaming ball of fire, gonna kill us all any second. And you'd be like, no, it's the sun. It's nice. It's good. It keeps us warm. It stimulates life on this planet, helps people grow, the plants grow, everything grow. It's good for us, generally speaking. There's drawbacks like skin cancer here and there, but by and large, having the sun out, coming up every day is a positive thing, right? You could brainwash somebody in this Trump derangement syndrome style way to wake up every morning going, no, giant ball of fire, gonna kill us all any second. So scared, hiding in a cave, hiding under a tree. Any second now, we're all gonna die. That's Trump derangement syndrome in a nutshell. Both looking at the sun, but son of a gun, looking at it two completely crazy different ways. So anyway, Hope that helps kind of humanize and analyze sort of what's being done to people. And with respect to that, I recommend the online and offline information war, because online is fine or censored into digital ghettos and splintered, right? And so people are talking to like-minded people on BitChute or Minds.com instead of YouTube and blah, 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 blah. And then a bunch of people on YouTube are getting kind of deranged. Or talking to each other on Telegram or Gab or Parler, those other social media platforms, and then on Facebook and other ones, Twitter, self-censoring or just talking to like minds, and generally in social circles like minds, right? And that's online, and so we're censored or splintered into digital ghettos, and that's why the offline information war is so important. Online's fine, it's great, but there's some issues with it. The offline information war is key. Promote Be Nice, which everyone likes. Why? Because otherwise people act too rude, sketchy, the great globalist bitch out, play with your hair, touch your face, act sketchy, messed up, glass eyes, force people to put up with you, act like a bitchy, sketchy mess, whatever. All that is fashionably out there, especially with all the anti-gender propaganda, which makes it hard for most people straight to be great at it, and so nobody else LGBTQ can be too. And then just the most narcissistic, selfish messes got to get out there. You could have a guy get in front of you, drop to his hands and knees and start twerking, going, "What? You don't like it? You don't like it? Yeah, you're a fat, ugly guy, in short shorts, just trying to force me to put up. You better like it, you homophobe." It's like, whoa, 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 calm down. That's not how people should act. Most people should be nice, polite ladies and gents teaching kids to be, right? And so instead of empowering the worst narcissistic, selfish elements in cultures, you promote Be Nice, which everyone likes. Be nice and polite at malls, on the streets, here and there. And people are like, oh yeah, be nice. We should be nice. Oh, okay. It's not selfish, bitchy, sketchy, mess, not mean, not bump into people. No, what's your problem? Be nice or polite. Everybody likes it. And when people are more empowered and they can act nice enough to talk, then it's easier for people to say or hear get bad guys and be more informed too. So you promote Be Nice. Everyone likes it. Who's going to say you shouldn't be nice? And then as people are nice to each other, or you reflect that as part of your philosophy, so it covers your ass, then get bad guys is part of it. We got to clean out corruption. Here's some positive information on health that can help you. Here's some, information relative to political issues where we live, or cultural issues where we live, and so on, right? You promote Be Nice. Everyone likes. People are empowered. Boom. Get bad guys saying or hearing it and not stopping people from saying it gets easier, and then people can be more informed. And then the usual meetings. Meet with other people, like local, like-minded people, face-to-face, not online, face-to-face, so you can have good conversations about this, not just snarky, bitchy blurts online, as is typically the fashion, right? Meetings, meet with other people locally, great idea, meet regularly, have a great time. All people frustrated because they can't talk about the stuff with a lot of people they know, can't talk about it at work. Talking about it online has its pros and cons, but typically not as fulfilling as normal human conversation if we can save it and save it from being corrupted by a lot of social media brainwashing, reducing our attention spans to that of goldfish and so on. Meetings are great. Meet and greet tables are great. Steven Crowder often does this with his Change My Mind tables. You can be Change My Mind or just whatever, but just you have a table there, some posters demonstrating your position on different issues or whatever, have some posters, flyers, DVDs, and so on that you can give away. And where you are in town, I did this with a group called Toronto Truth Seekers myself, very successful, and a lot of people liked it. You have people coming up to you, and they see you might sound crazy or seem crazy, but if you're hanging out with a couple of other people, you're not too crazy to make a friend. And then you're all getting along, just like me and my colleagues did at the time. And then because you all seem like you're cool, people approach you and go, "Oh, what's up with this?" Or maybe they're a bit more red-pilled. They know what's going on. "Oh, I believe this." And that you have good conversations. Other people see you as not being crazy. They decide to come over, or maybe they ignore you, or maybe they take a look, or maybe you have a couple people there handing out a couple of flyers. Friendly, not confrontational, not this, not that, not the sort of divide and conquer strategies that are sold, but polite patriots. Polite patriots handing out flyers, posters, this and that, having conversations, agreeing. Sometimes people will argue, just like they'll argue with people preaching the gospel on the street and others, right, who are confident in their beliefs, right? You, as someone confident in your beliefs, you don't flip out, you don't freak out with them, you don't go there, and third parties who see that you're cool and the person freaking out is not are more inclined to value your group and what you guys are on about, as opposed to the person freaking out and making a big mess in public, making everyone else uncomfortable, right? So meetings, meet and greet tables, and classic posters and flyers where you put stuff up around the neighborhood and so on. I had a group, with Toronto Truth Seekers, a group of guys. We would go do this. We'd put up posters places. We'd flyer cars and mailboxes and businesses. We were getting stuff done, getting stuff out there. Typically, it's more of a man thing to do. Women can, not saying women shouldn't, whatever, but definitely guys who've always defended their tribes, this is the way to do it today. The way to do it today is to get out there and mix it up like that and deal with the fact that, some of it might be a little bit illegal in terms of going here or there or putting this poster on this thing or whatever, but it's not that bad, right? Security people know you're not a bad person based on how you're acting and what you're up to. Cops know you're not a bad person based on normal people know you're not a criminal trying to do criminal things, right? Even people that disagree with you are like, well, it's probably better than not that there are people around here that are trying to inform and empower people with respect to what's going on, right or wrong. At least people will get a chance to see what they have to say and make up their own minds. So meetings, meet and greet tables, posters, flyers, and more. That's the offline info war, and that's how you can beat some of this stuff. Where you can say, when it comes to Trump derangement syndrome, you can say, well, here's a list of a couple of major accomplishments. Here's why we like him and how we feel. Here's a couple of great places to check out, a couple of great websites to check out when it comes to being more informed. And you can say, we're doing this compassionately, right? I'm not trying to convince you of this to make money off you or screw you, in any way. We're doing this because we think the people in our community should be relaxed, polite, ladies and gents, teaching kids to be informed and empowered and able to communicate about what's going on effectively to make sure we get better people, better politicians, better policies, and a better place to live, right? That's our goal. So you can't crap on me for doing that. You can only correct me if I'm wrong, in which case I'll be happy to be corrected because then I won't be wrong about something and repeating it, or you can vibe on it. And if it's smart, appreciate it. If it's stupid, laugh at it. But don't start bitching and crying for no goddamn good reason, right? Anyway, all this stuff was tested many years ago, and it works, and it's sort of timeless. It was just retested, and it can be tested again. So I recommend that as a way to beat Trump derangement syndrome where you live when it comes to discussing President Trump and so on in a more honest way. And I've got my own criticisms of him and some of the things he's done, but I've also got a lot of praise for some of the things he's done, and it's a nuanced conversation that everyone should be able to have, left, right, black, white, whatever, right? And when it comes to Trump or any other issues, get it out there and get it done and have people on the fence, right? There's a few hardcore, radical right-wingers, that say 2, 3, 4, 5% of people, max. There's a few hardcore, radical left-wingers, 2, 3, 4, 5% of people, max. The other 90%, they're not that hardcore about it. So they're the ones you can reach if you use techniques like this, and I wish you all the best with them. Anyway, I'll put a link to this article below. Hopefully this analysis of one of the major issues of our time helps. Otherwise, BK Black Krishna from manforwars.com. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, share, get in touch with questions, answers, ways to work together, or financial support. And I hope this helps, and I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.